Hi friends, it's Tilly, and after the mock-up in part 1, I now can finish Doric's Unitard for my upcoming Dungeons & Dragons cosplay. So let's get started. As you saw in the last video, I did the mock-up and did a fitting at the end of the video and made some notes about fit. I'm going to be changing kind of two major things, and we can talk about what that will impact. The first is going to be the zipper. The zipper was far too long and it was impacting how the crotch was sitting, as well as I put interfacing onto the zipper and it just doesn't need it. It was making it far too stiff. So I'm going to not do interfacing this time and shorten the zipper to a 9-inch. The second thing I'm going to change is the princess seam fit. The side seams, the top of the shoulder seam, the center front and center back all fit well. It was just too big overall. So taking it in at all 4 princess seams is just going to make the garment overall smaller, evenly distributed around the garment. What that will then impact is the fit of the leg holes. Once the bodysuit is constructed, you can measure between the side seam and the inseam in the front and the back. Then determine the difference between the pant opening and the bodysuit and divide it by 2 for each seam. Here's an example. And then the facing for the neckline is going to be changed. What that will also do is bring up where the sleeve attaches to the body, because it was too long in the bodysuit, and so making this piece shorter will help just bring this to the right spot. And so I can start to make those adjustments, but first, let's talk about fabric. For the undersuit, I actually think her base suit is a dark green, but I couldn't find any in the color that I liked and the color that I needed in the time that I needed it by, unfortunately. So I'm going with a black. It is a black pleather that is from Yaya, and this thing smells so bad. I was supposed to start this yesterday and I completely degassed. I tried to degas it, I thought I degassed it, I left it outside with a fan for hours and it still smells. I don't understand. I've even washed it, no idea. It still smells. So hopefully that'll eventually go away. But it is just a very nice black stretch pleather. It's slightly textured to look a bit more like leather, which is nice. It's not the all shiny glossy one. It does have a little bit of a texture to it. So this is what I'm going to be using to create the bodysuit. My hands smell. Oh, it's so gross. I literally thought I was degassed already. How does it still smell? Okay. From here we can start cutting out. Since the fabric is basically a plastic, there are a few key differences that you'll want to keep in mind when working with it. The first being that any of the creases or folds in the fabric are going to be quite difficult to remove. I recommend ironing with some steam and a protective layer on a low setting in order to help remove some of those wrinkles. Another thing to consider is the fact that this fabric will retain any holes that you put into it. So using push pins and sewing pins are going to leave holes within the fabric. If you want to avoid this, I'd recommend using weights in order to cut out your fabric when you are tracing over your pattern pieces, as well as sewing clips. I feel like I'm cosplaying as Elizabeth Holmes accidentally today, and that was not my intention when I got dressed this morning. But next we'll go ahead and overlock all the pieces. I'm overlocking all the pieces. Do I think you need to? Maybe not. The fabric is so plasticky that I don't think it's going to fray, but I have a hang up about finishing all of my raw edges because the second cosplay I ever built before I knew what an overlock machine was Belle from Beauty and the Beast, and I spent hours making that dress for the first time, and I was super excited, but I made it out of a really bad, cheap satin, and it just disintegrated after a few wears. It was a nightmare. So I'm not gonna have that happen to me ever again, and I'm going to finish all of my raw edges. So I'm gonna go overlock this entire thing. I'm not going to go over every single construction step here, since I did that in the previous video and the steps are the same. And this is the final unitard. I'm thrilled with how it turned out. I think it looks great, it fits well, it's not, bunching in any place, it's not too small, it's not too big. There are a few adjustments that maybe could be made, but overall I'm super happy with it. I need to finish still the tacking of the facing and finishing off the sleeves and the underarms because I wanted to check the fit before I did that. And I'm thrilled. I'm over the moon with how this turned out. This is why we do mock-ups, because then you can make adjustments and it looks so much better. I'm thrilled. Okay, amazing. Next, I'll go ahead and finish the bracers. So stick around for part 3. Go ahead and subscribe in order to make sure you don't miss it. And I'm really excited to complete Doric together, so let's do it. Oh, and let me know if you have any questions on fitting, or how to do a fitting or making adjustments to your pattern down in the comments below. I'm happy to help. See you soon. Bye.